good personal friends and colleagues at the APS, with APS, the public schools here in Albuquerque, on a project that really is super important for our community. And so this announcement today is hopefully the beginning of a even more involved partnership between the city of Albuquerque and APS on yet another front. We have tremendous agreements already with APS where we do joint use agreements for lots of facilities, and we work with them all the time. And I want to say on a personal level that the superintendent, Elder, and I have been working together for many years, and he's been great to work with, so it's always great to be able to call on him, and he's very responsive, and so we thank him for his support in helping us make our community safe and actually helping make our schools better and better every year. So without further ado, let me just begin by asking Helen Maestas, who is our Public Affairs Director, to come up and talk a little bit about this grant that we're in this relationship that we have with APS that we're going to announce today. So Helen?
Yes, thank you, Lawrence. Well, we're here today because too many people have suffered loss at the hands of gun violence. And tragically, that's often involved youth who are wrapped up in conflicts. The West Mesa High School community knows this because of the recent loss of 16-year-old Andrew Brunson this year. And today we're here because we want to stop the next shooting between classmates from ever happening. That means working to create change at every level. We want to move forward with multiple strategies. We know that there's not one single answer to this crisis, but we must approach it at every level with upstream solutions and innovative ideas towards prevention. With violence, especially at schools, we want to stop that trigger from ever being pulled. And that's what this program at West Mesa is about. Our violence intervention program has been very successful. I believe we have had a 90% success rate since it began. And last year, our state legislature worked to provide funding so that we can expand the model statewide. And we're here piloting at schools because the tragic reality is that gun violence impacts students all across America. We need trauma-informed approaches to deal with this conflict right away. Families and students are demanding that we do that. And upstream solutions can save lives. But we need to do more than this. We need help from the state, at the state level, from the federal government, and downstream on guns. We're grateful to the Kellogg Foundation for investing in VIP and being a partner with us and with APS on this project to help APS students break the cycle of violence. This 18-month pilot program will be established at West Mesa High School and with the hope that we can expand it all across APS. Our children deserve safety, and creating pathways away from violence is a part of that. So I want to thank you for being here today, and I believe we have Jerry Bachicha with our VIP program to tell us more about what this project looks like.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Helen. It's great to be here today to talk about the work that we're going to be doing. The Violence Intervention Program continues to build a system of care from intervention to long-term support to address the root causes of gun violence in Albuquerque. The school-based violence intervention program was developed in conjunction with the West Mesa staff to help bridge the gaps in systems and connect students who are engaging in the cycles of violence with resources. Teachers and counselors are stretched thin and cannot provide the long-term intensive support that the Violence Intervention Program provides students and their families off campus. The program includes on-campus peer-to-peer support through community-based efforts, and it includes intensive long-term case management support for those most at risk for becoming engaged in the cycles of violence and gun violence. When community, the city, and the schools work together, we can help the highest risk students overcome the most difficult challenges And we are grateful to the Kellogg Foundation for investing in our innovative approach to breaking the cycles of violence in Albuquerque. Thank you so much. And I want to introduce Superintendent Elder, who will be also speaking a little bit more about the schools and the challenges that we face together.
Good morning. Thank you for being here today. As we begin, I'd like to take a moment to thank the City of Albuquerque, the Kellogg Foundation for this fabulous grant, and the Violence Intervention Program for their willingness to step up and support our students in the schools. I've had too many opportunities this year to speak about gun violence and its impact. It's an intensely personal and intensely painful subject. Every time we prevent something from happening is a victory. We don't talk about that a lot, but we do have a great number of victories in that regard, and it's because of the support of people like the Violence Intervention Program. We as a school system are doing everything we can to keep our children safe. We've added fencing, we've added cameras, we've added ring systems to the doors, we're changing our locks. But ultimately the biggest solution is people. And it's people intervening in the lives of our families and the lives of our children. Gun violence is not a school problem, it's a community problem. And this is a community solution to that problem. I'm deeply appreciative of the people behind me and their willingness to step up and to support our staff and our students in these trying times. And so I say thank you. Thank you to all the people that are here today and all the people that help us in the 18 months moving forward with this $950,000 grant from the Kellogg Foundation. So thank you all very much. And now I'd like to introduce you to one of the bravest principals I know, Michelle Torres from West Mesa High School.
Good morning. Like he said, I'm Michelle Torres, and I have the honor to serve our community as West Mesa's high school principal. It's time for all of us to start thinking outside the box, and that's what this VIP program will do for us. Our students are entering our school campuses with more trauma than we've ever seen before. We need to promote prevention. If we've learned anything in the last few months, it's that being reactive is not working. We cannot rely on a single solution to prevent this kind of violence. We need a multifaceted strategy that draws on our existing systems and agencies to support meaningful preventative efforts that centers around the well-being of our most at-risk students. Our students will be identified through our early warning systems and will be referred to the case managers. Many at-risk students, and quite frankly, many of our teachers, do not have access to the proper tools and resources that come with this type of prevention program. We will directly provide the necessary support and resources for them. Our ultimate goal is to keep our campuses safe for all of us, students and staff. Through the VIP program, we are taking the first steps in bringing our school, students, educators, and community together to create a viable solution for everyone. We are very appreciative of this opportunity. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Chamisa Pacheco de Alas with the Kellogg Foundation. Thank you, Helen, Lawrence, Jerry, Superintendent Elder, and Principal Torres for the opportunity to be a part of this important partnership and announcement today, and for all you do for children in our communities. We deeply appreciate it. On behalf of the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, we appreciate the opportunity to collaborate with the City of Albuquerque's Community Safety Department on this violence intervention program, along with the Albuquerque Public Schools and other community partners. Our foundation has a long-standing commitment to the well-being of children in New Mexico in the areas of early childhood education, maternal child health, food systems, employment equity, home visiting, and health equity, specifically in Doña Ana, Bernalillo, San Juan, and McKinley counties, and with the 23 tribes, pueblos, and nations across the state, centered in values of racial equity, community engagement, and leadership. Last week, my 9-year-old son overheard my husband and I discussing the shooting at the hospital in Tulsa. He looked at me and in a quiet voice said, "But I thought hospitals were safe." You see, his papa works in hospitals, and that statement and look broke my heart. It was one more piece of innocence and safety stripped away by gun violence. More troubling, it was clear to me that he, who was born just a month before Sandy Hook, had never assumed that schools were safe, just hospitals. Our founder, Will Keith Kellogg, cared about children, the conditions in which they were raised, and what the future held for them. He also believed in the power of communities to forge their own solutions for the health, happiness, and well-being of children. Mr. Kellogg directed his foundation to use the funds as necessary to advance the health and well-being of children. Today, gun violence is the #1 cause of death in American children, jumping 30% between 2019 and 2020. This is a public health crisis threatening our kids, and as Principal Torres said, it requires innovation and it requires immediate action. Every child deserves to learn and live in a safe setting free from fear. Additionally, due to persistent racism, communities of color are most impacted by gun violence, presenting a serious health disparity issue. This grant addresses these issues by engaging a variety of partners, including the city, local schools, nonprofits, and families, all working towards healthier, safer communities for our children and those most vulnerable to hate and violence. With our support, this program can expand to more partnerships with community organizations and schools where community-centered public health approaches addressing trauma, socio-emotional learning, and utilizing racial healing processes with culturally responsive resources, all critical tools. This has multi-generational health impact for all of our communities, a vital contribution to prevent the cycles of hate and violence, giving our children the best chance of thriving in the safe environments they deserve. But we cannot do this alone. I'd ask each of you to reflect personally on what you are doing in your community, your church, your organizational memberships, your children's schools, your friendship circles, to end gun violence in order to protect our children. I know that I am. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chamisa, and thank you to the superintendent and to our principal here, Michelle Torres. This is really about relationships and about bringing people together to find solutions. These issues with gun violence are not issues that we can deal with just independently as the city of Albuquerque or APS or any other institution. It means that we've all got to collaborate and bring our resources together, because this is what we are. We're one Albuquerque. We're one community. I want to thank again Scott and APS for their relationship, but more importantly, I want to thank the Kellogg Foundation. It's their grant that makes this program possible. We hope that this will be a model that we can move to other schools, as was already indicated. And I also just want to let all of you know that all of the orange shirts here is our Albuquerque Community Safety Department. Our VIP program is in that department and is working collectively with our VIP outreach programs to go out and interview victims of gun violence, but also to work with the communities to identify potential situations that might be arising in our community where we can perhaps stem gun violence going forward. It's an initiative that is really important for, not just for Albuquerque, but for, unfortunately, for all of our major cities and towns in our country. And so, as we talked about this morning, moving forward, we hope that we continue to have a great relationship and work and get some real results out of this program so that our families, and as Chamisa says, so our children can feel safe at school again. Thank you all for coming, and we'll open it up now for any questions. Okay, thank you all. Thanks, everybody.